So hi everyone, I'm Tomek, and I'm a JavaScript developer here at Selleo. And today I will talk to you about some React 16.3 features that arrived. And all of these features I will talk to you were discussed in RFC, which is new stuff that React maintainers decided to do, just like Ember developers have their RFCs for new features. So just like previously Damian Schneider said, I will talk to you about the new context API. So we finally can easily get rid of the prop drilling. So you don't have to pass the props down to the components infinitely almost. So basically this is how this looks. I'm not sure if you see this font, but yeah, this is React.createContext, and you have a default value to be defined. And this creates a theme, for example, theme context. And this is how we define our provider. So as a component, you can notice that this theme context.provider, and you define just a simple value. And what's cool about that is that you can actually pass anything there. So this is our method in the class, and this is our state. So we can pass it to our theme context provider, and we can use it later by using theme context consumer component. And what's really cool about that is that you use the pretty new, or not that new, but it's more popular now, render prop pattern, which is basically passing a function as a children or other prop which renders something, and you display this. And the value here is exactly the same thing that you provided to a prop in the provider component. So this is really cool about that. You can use this consumer anywhere as a descendant of the provider. So the next thing, and yeah, that's neat, by the way. That's really neat. And yeah, next thing that's there is the createRef API. This is real simple stuff because basically all you do is like React.createRef, and when you have a reference to your component and the render method, you just pass the property of the class that you just created. And you can use it like here. So there's this text input.current, and we use the HTML input element that focus method. So it's your DOM element. And yeah, callbox refs are still working, so you don't have to change anything. It's still backwards compatible. And related to the createRef, there's a forwardRef API, which allows you to pass reference somewhere deep to a descendants of the component. Because if you pass a ref to a component and you want to access actually something deeper there, it's not possible because ref is like special prop, just like key, for example. So this is how this looks. So for example, this is how it could work. So we have our higher order component, and it enhances something. Just didn't want to put so much code here. And you pass all the props to a wrapped component. So yeah, this is our button. We want to access a toggle, for example, and then we enhance our component with our higher order component. And what's actually problematic here, that the ref we are creating is not what we want. Because ref points to our higher order component instead of our button, which we want to access. So how do we get out of this trap? Well, React created an API, which is forwardRef. So we can change our higher order component a little bit. So now instead, we do not return a higher order component, but instead we create a ref forwarder and then pass our ref as a other prop, which we can later access in our wrapped component. And this allows us to access a button that we are wrapping with higher order component. So we can use our, for example, our click that we defined previously. Yeah. And yeah, the ref points now to our component that we were interested in. And one of the most major changes in new React are new lifecycle hooks and removing some lifecycle hooks. Actually, they are not yet removed, but yet to be removed, to be honest. So these are the hooks that you shouldn't use anymore. So this is a component will mount, which should be replaced by using component did mount, because will mount sometimes can lead to memory leaks in some rare cases. Component will update should be replaced by component did update, and component will receive props should be replaced by get derived state from props. What is this name, by the way? Really sick. So this is how this looks. And this is a static method, so we cannot access component instance in it, which is weird, but according to React creators, it helps in async rendering. And this is how the API looks. So we have our next props and previous state. And yeah, returning null indicates that there is no state change, or we can return our new state that we are interested in. And the another thing is the new commit phase lifecycle, which is creating a snapshot, for example. And here you can see that we have some list of items, and this list changes its length. So we want to, for example, preserve scroll height, and this new lifecycle helps us to do it, because we can save current scroll height and use it in component did update to recalculate, to change the element height accordingly. And yeah, this allows us to preserve the scroll position. And yeah, I said that the get derived state from props is really sick name, but it's actually pretty accurate. And I will show you how to migrate from component will receive props to new lifecycle hook. So this is the old stuff. So for example, you are having an instance of a component, so you have some initial state, you do some expensive data computation, and save this computed state into a component state. And when the new props come, you recalculate this expensive component state again. But because you shouldn't use this hook anymore, you can, but it's discouraged. This is how you should do it with the get derived state from props. So let me explain it here. So yeah, this is our. This is called, by the way, after constructor. So you don't have to define anything in state initially. And yeah, here we do the expensive computation. And what's important here, that we don't have the previous props of the component. We only have the props that will come. So if we want to compare if something changed, we have to mirror the current props to our state. So this is so the props that are coming will be mirrored in state, and then we can compare it and do state change if we want. So yeah, this is like exactly what I talked previously about. So yeah, returning some object means that there is new state coming, and null indicates there is no change in state. And this is how it all presents. This is a diagram from the Dan Abramov tweet. So we have a constructor, and after the constructor we have get derived state from props, and then we can decide if the component should update or not. There's a render, of course, and after render we have this snapshot update, and this happens before React updates all the DOM references and so on, so we can still work like on the old DOM, and then in component.update compare it with the new one. But why? Why do we have these weird changes? And it's related to the Damian's presentation. It's all because React team introduces async rendering, and they did some research. They created a flag, secret flag in React, and they tested it on Facebook components, and they saw that the component will update, component will receive props, and the other lifecycle hooks are generating errors, memory leaks, and are not that much suitable for asynchronous rendering. So yeah, this is the main reason for that. Do you have any questions? Yeah, but for now, this will work. There's no deprecation warnings whatsoever. I believe this will be removed in React 17, just as I showed you previously. The deprecation warnings will come soon, but for now the React team just gives time for package maintainers and developers to change the way how they build their components. Yeah. So any more questions? Or maybe you want some better explanation? Okay. So thank you very much.